Today, we're diving into a crisis that doesn't come with a fever or a visible wound, but it's spreading across an entire continent. This is Africa's silent pandemic.
Think about it. You pass them on the minibus in Lusaka, in the market queue in Lagos, at the office in Nairobi.
They're just going about their day, right? They carry on with their lives, performing all the normal rituals, trying to hold everything together.
Because this is the reality. This is the story of Africa's mental health crisis, a silent pandemic that's affecting millions and millions of people.
So, let's put this in perspective. Globally, about 1 in 8 people is living with a mental health disorder. But here's the thing about Africa. For most of them, they suffer completely and totally alone.
So let's meet someone. Let's call her Chipo. She's 24, works as a cashier, and she's taking care of her 3 siblings. She smiles at every single customer, but for the last 11 months, she hasn't slept through the night. Her chest gets tight, she cries on her lunch break, and she's never told a soul. Why? Because the nearest clinic is too far, it's too expensive, and it's only open when she's at work. You know, in her world, it's seen as either madness or weakness, and she knows she is neither of those things.
And Chipo's story, well, it's not just her story. It scales up to a continental level. An absolutely incredible 85% of people with mental health conditions in Africa receive zero treatment. None. And the funding? You won't believe this. Less than 2% of most health budgets go to mental health. It's a huge systemic blind spot.
So, you have to ask, why? Why is this treatment gap so massive? Well, it really boils down to 2 enormous barriers, 2 giant walls that keep people like Chipo from getting any help.
First up, there's the cultural wall. Think about this. 2/3 of people in many communities believe mental illness comes from supernatural causes. It's seen as a spiritual problem or family shame, not a medical condition. And this taboo, it keeps people silent for, on average, 10 to 15 years after their symptoms first start.
And then you've got the second barrier, the systemic wall. And this is where we meet Kwame. He's the first in his family to go to university, so he's carrying all their hopes on his shoulders. When he started falling apart, he did the right thing. He looked for help. But the nearest specialist was 4 hours away, and a single visit would cost his entire monthly living allowance. So what did he do? He just closed the browser. And this is the heart of Kwame's problem. In many low-income African countries, you're looking at maybe 1 psychiatrist for every million people. 1 million. Now compare that to over 6 per 100,000 in high-income nations. The infrastructure, the basic system, it just isn't there. And this lack of support, it doesn't just stop with the individual. Oh no, it radiates outward and it creates a crisis right inside the family home.
So, let's talk about Amina. She's a new mother in Nairobi, and from the outside, everything looks perfect. But inside, she feels this complete disconnect from her new baby, like a fog, a glass wall between her and everything she's supposed to love. And she has no words for it. She's never even heard the term postpartum depression.
And Amina is so far from being alone in this. I mean, look at this. 1 in every 5 new mothers in sub-Saharan Africa suffers from postpartum depression. 1 in 5. That is a truly staggering number of families affected at their most vulnerable time. Okay, so you have that huge number, 1 in 5 mothers. Now, of all those women, how many get any kind of real evidence-based treatment? Fewer than 5%. Let that sink in. The vast majority are just left to struggle alone in silence.
And of course, it's not just mothers. This is Thabo. He's a delivery driver, a father of 2. His anxiety over finances is constant, but he tells no one because he believes a man who shows fear can't be trusted. But that unspoken stress, it doesn't stay with him. His entire family feels it. His son has started wetting the bed again. His wife gets migraines. It's like his wound is bleeding onto everyone he loves.
So, okay, the stories of Chipo, Kwame, Amina, and Thabo, they paint a pretty grim picture, right? But what if the solution wasn't about trying to fix a broken system? What if it was about building an entirely new one from the ground up?
And this, right here, is the absolute key.
The problem isn't a lack of people who need help. The demand is massive. The challenge is the infrastructure to deliver that help. This isn't about charity. It's about building a new set of rails to get care where it desperately needs to go. And here is one vision for what that new infrastructure could look like. It's an integrated platform, a whole journey. It starts with an AI companion that can actually detect distress.
From there, virtual care connects you to a specialist. Then, home care can bring a counselor right to your door, completely bypassing public stigma. And finally, a pharmacy network can deliver medication. It's the whole package, a journey from silence to support.
So how does a new system like this actually rewrite the stories we just heard? Let's go back and see how it could build a new reality for them.
Remember Chipo, the cashier suffering in silence? For her, the platform's AI companion could detect her distress from just simple check-ins. Then she's connected to virtual support that actually fits around her work schedule. She finally gets help without having to choose between her job and her health.
And what about Kwame, our university student? For him, a virtual care network just erases geography and prohibitive cost. He can connect with a specialist across the country, or maybe even across a border, for a fraction of the price. What was a dead end for him suddenly becomes a doorway for help.
And for Amina and Thabo, the Homecare Network changes everything. A counselor comes to Amina's kitchen, meeting her right where she is with privacy and dignity. And Thabo's whole family can be supported on one platform, addressing not just his anxiety, but how it impacts his wife and son, breaking that cycle of generational trauma.
You see, the whole point is to stop treating mental health like an afterthought. It's about building sustainable, scalable, African-built infrastructure that treats mental wellness as what it has always been, essential healthcare.
By 2030, depression is projected to be one of the leading causes of disease burden globally. And Africa, with the youngest and fastest growing population on Earth, is the most exposed and the least prepared. The demand isn't coming, it is already here. The only question is whether the infrastructure will be built in time to meet it.